Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about Io Edebiri's absolutely brilliant film, Opus. And spoiler warning, there are spoilers for Opus in this content. And also, I wanted to, and specifically what I want to talk about is I want to talk about how Opus discusses something that I've been thinking about with Dungeons and Dragons for a while, which is that the best people to lead the world, the best people to lead America, and that turns into world leadership. The president, I'm not sure if you understand this, but the president of the United States of America is really the king of the world. It's just the way it is, and that used to be the case. It's literally the case now, right? Donald Trump really doesn't serve as a president. He really serves as an American king, and by extension serves as the world king. I don't think that's really debatable anymore. We've reached a point where that's incredibly obvious to anybody who's making even basic observation. So, but the film Opus had a brilliant supposition. All right. So John Malkovich is in the film, and he was phenomenal. He just did this excellent job playing this aged pop star by the name of Alfred Moretti. And so Moretti was somebody who had 34 number one hits, right? So think of a mixture of Michael Jackson and Bruce Springsteen, right? But aged, to about 70 years old, right? And at that point, his music career is behind him, and he's kind of working on his opus, his greatest work, right? And that is leadership. So Alfred Moretti is shifting into leadership, right? But it's really interesting the way he does it. So he goes about pursuing leadership through essentially founding his own religion, right? But what was really interesting is at the end of the film, Moretti gives a discussion of leadership, and he goes through 3 segments, and he talks about how leadership has been established for humanity over time. Okay, so let's look at that. So what does he say? So first, up until like the 1600s, leadership of man was always determined by brute strength, the ability to kill, right? The ability to slay, right? Now this is quite true, certainly true under the Romans, certainly true under many cultures, and it was leadership of the strongest, leadership of the physically strongest. Very significant, very direct, right? And really quite excellent. Actually, let me back that up. Adequate. It served adequately for a while, right? Then Moretti talked about how we determine leadership today, and I think this is and by the way, he was 100% correct. Like until about the 1600s, leadership was decided by the strongest, right? Every culture was whoever is the strongest warrior, they're the leader, right? And it served. I don't even, back that up. That's simply the way it was. I'm not going to say if that was best or adequate or anything like that. It's simply the way it was. Now, today, how do we choose our leaders? Well, it is left brain dominance, right? So intelligence, smart. Are you smart? Are you intelligent? Do you have lots of knowledge? Do you have capacity for knowledge? Are you able? What knowledge do you have, right? And how do we demonstrate that, right? Now, before the 1600s, this was always demonstrated in wars, right? You would go out, you were the leader of men, Napoleon, many generals, right? You would overcome Marcus Aurelius, that kind of thing, right? So you would prove yourself in war. Now, today, the way we prove we're smart, the way we prove we're we have intellectual prowess, right, is with an Ivy League. It never changes. It never changes, right? It is Ivy League lawyer degree, a lawyer degree from an Ivy. That's it. Lawyer degree from an Ivy. Go down to the presidents, almost every single one of them. Lawyer degree from an Ivy. And that's how we're picking our CEOs. That's how we're picking, that's how we pick our winners today. Is the best left brain leaders, right? The smartest, the ones with the most knowledge, and this is always indicated by a law degree from an Ivy, right? That's your stamp. That's the equivalent to going out and slaying many in war, right? So here's where it gets interesting. So Moretti said, okay, those are the old models. I'm setting up the new model, right? And what is the new model? So he decided to do this through religion, right? And the new model is the most creative, the strongest, the most creative, the most powerful right brain thinkers, the most creative, right? And he's saying that the physically strongest and the most intellectual, and the ones with the highest intellectual prowess, that is not correct. The strongest left brain thinkers, right? The most powerful left brain thinkers, that's not correct. What we need now is need the most powerful right brain thinkers, the most creative. Now what's interesting is Moretti's 100% correct. And this is exactly what I'm saying with American leadership. It should be the most creative, the people who have the most powerful right brain thinking, okay? So Moretti perfectly illustrates why Dungeons and Dragons is so important. So let's get this all the way through. So one, left brain thinking has not served us. That's a good question. Has it served us poorly? Actually, I don't think it has served us poorly. I don't think the relying on the most physically strong was a bad model. It was a good model until it got us to the left brain thinkers. And that was a good model for a while. And we've done quite well with America, right? But at this point, we need to do much bigger, much broader things. We need people with vision, determination, and will, right? And none of that comes from a strong left brain thought process, right? We need the most creative, right? Now, first of all, I'm an evangelical Christian, so why don't we just have Christians lead? Well, first of all, that's not going to work. And the reason why is it won't work by the numbers, right? So I'm an evangelical Christian, so I've read the Bible many times, and it explains that people who will follow Christ are a remnant, right? That means they're going to be the smallest number. Narrow is the path. So you're not going to have a ton of Christians, right? And there's a lot of confusion on this in America. They're like, oh, hey, there's so many Christians. There aren't. There's an extremely small amount of Christians, right? And one of the reasons why people think there are a lot of Christians is there are a lot of people claiming to be Christians who aren't. I'll give you some examples. Catholics, not Christian. They worship Mary and the Pope rather than Jesus. Mormons, not Christians. And the reason why is it's Jesus plus, right? If you read the Bible, at the end it says you can't add a single word to what's been written here, right? Both the Catholics and the Mormons have added to the Bible. They've added additional Bible. Heresy, right? And there's just a whole, Jehovah's Witnesses, not Christians. Just a whole bunch of people who are like, hey, we're Christians, but they're not. There's only a very slim margin, right? And so one, you're never going to get a leader who can win from a Christian group, right? And the reason why is the only people who are going to vote for them are Christians, right? And that is literally a remnant. It's a small slice, right? So you can't win elections with that. So at that point, you have to get your leaders from the secular side. And so it is my humble opinion that Dungeons and Dragons is the best filter to find American leaders, right? No one ever, and we're not there yet, right? So I believe that Dungeons and Dragons is a human improvement engine, that Gary Gygax specifically built it to grow, improve, and transform secular humans at that table, right? And then those people are to go out and share their wisdom and what they've learned and their creative solutions with the world, right? And it's a perfect filter for charismatic, confident, intelligent people for a lot of reasons. If you don't know what that is, just listen to my channel. I've spoken about it in depth. right? And so Dungeons and Dragons is a perfect filter for charismatic, confident, intelligent people. And then Alfred Moretti perfectly explained in the movie Opus why powerful right brain thinkers are the next generation, the ones that are going to get us to the moon, to Mars, and take humanity to stars, and also fix the climate problems we currently have and bring wealth to the majority of people, right? The majority of people. You know, that's interesting because actually, I kind of think America is one of the nations that have already done that, right? I think that's pretty much what defines America, is that the vast majority of Americans are wealthy compared to any other area, any other nation in the world. So I would say not just take us to wealth, but extreme wealth for the 51%. So I really do believe Alfred Moretti was absolutely correct in this film, that that the next generation of leaders, the leaders that are going to take us the farthest humanity has ever gone, are going to be the most powerful right brain thinkers, the most creative. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.